social domain of second language learning. Now, the role of the first language in the social domain of the second language learning, as discussed in the sociocultural theory of learning and in the pedagogical theory of language teaching, emerges as very central and important. First of all, within the social domain, L1 fosters tolerance and acceptance of ethnic and linguistic diversity. It is highly important that when somebody is within a social setting, one's social identity needs to be accepted. It is the acceptance of the social identity of the learners that facilitates their participation within the group. So the first thing is to avoid stigmatization because of one's language, stigmatization because of one's culture, that the students of ethnic minorities often face in second language classrooms. It is important to accept who they are. And a way of accepting who they are is by inviting their language in the classrooms. So inevitably, this is an act which allows for tolerance and acceptance of others. It also promotes the use of the first language, also promotes an awareness of the origins of their language, how special their own first language is, and how about the dialect that they are using, the difference between language and dialect, and that to see that a dialect is perfectly all right, and it is only a matter of how it is positioned in the power structure that allows other people to stigmatize them. So this awareness gives a new confidence to the learners. But having said that, you might be thinking, all this language awareness about their first language, what does it do to the second language learning? Because that is the main concern of the teacher. Well, the way our language is divided into dialects, similarly, English also has different dialects. And it will be interesting to see how those dialects work. Which are the dialects and how over the time these dialects have become standard language. How did they choose this standard language? All those discussions, especially in adult classes, are very interesting. But this does not mean that we cannot simplify and do these things at a lower level. The whole thing is to allow them to see that it is perfectly all right to have a first language, and its use in language learning is perfectly legitimized. Then the first language use also ensures group interaction. And the sociocultural theory of language learning or learning itself tells us how important that interaction is, because knowledge or any learning is not transmitted. It is co-constructed. So, stepping away from Gresham's concept of comprehensible input and how it allows the learner to simply imbibe the language by listening to it, the sociocultural theory, as we discussed, makes it clear that all learning, including language learning, is a matter of participation. It happens in social contexts, and how people working at the fringes are allowed to, when allowed or given space, to use the language, discuss the language, experiment the language by those who are more proficient learners or by the teacher, how learning actually happens within those group contexts, or how does it happen in social contexts. So this makes the social domain, or places the social domain at the core of the second language learning, and it is through the first language that all the learners, no matter at what developmental stage of the second language learning they might be, they are able to participate properly. They are able to express and say things that are bothering them, and they can discuss their problems related to the second language and give their ideas and share their ideas. And this is how the first language becomes pivotal in the social domain.